Welcome to the Women of Distance podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Kramer. These are the stories of motivated women chasing big dreams in the distance running world. You'll hear from women who are crushing it on the trails, the track, and the road. These are not just the stories of women's results at the top of the sport, but the full story of how she got there, the challenges, failures, successes, lessons, and life between the miles. Women of Distance is proudly supported by OpenFuel, responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check out their products and their mission at openfuel.co and use code WOD for 20% off every order, every time. This podcast is also supported by SOAR Running, apparel collections designed specifically for running, for high-performance racing, and also for off-road adventure and endurance. Find them at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com. We are also kept caffeinated by our friends and fellow trail runners at Summit Roasters. Visit summit-roasters.com and use code WOD15 for 15% off your order every time. We'd love to see Women of Distance listeners supporting those supporting us. You can find all of these links and codes in the show notes, and you can also head over to the Women of Distance Substack to learn more about how I'm using these in my own life and training. Without further ado, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Okay, I am hanging out with Sarah Humble today. Sarah, welcome to the Women of Distance podcast. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm feeling good. Honored to be on the podcast. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you are able to be here. I'm really eager to get to know you real quick for our guests. You have a longer history that we're going to get into in a minute here, but most recently you were at the Canyons 100K where you earned a golden ticket into your debut at Western States. And I'm really excited to talk about that race specifically, but I'm even more interested to get to know you before you got to this golden ticket spot and preparing for Western States. So just in getting to know you in that process, I'd love to go back to your origin story in the sport. Where did athletics of any kind first enter your life?
So I grew up in Utah. I think most kids here play soccer. My family, my parents, I'm the oldest of 5 kids.
Okay.
So they kind of were just like the type of parents where let's try lots of things, see what you like. So I tried t-ball, soccer, basketball. I played as a kid, but it was exploratory at best. I was never very athletic. Like I had siblings who played like comp soccer and all that, and that was not me. I told my mom after one of my soccer games that was just too sweaty, and I didn't like it. um, so yeah, just for fun as a kid. My family's pretty outdoorsy, so I always enjoyed like we'd go camping or hiking, but nothing intense. And then I guess I got into a little bit more athletics. The first thing I remember is the Presidential Fitness Challenge in the 6th grade, trying to get that. I think I was fairly competitive and I just wanted to hit that standard. So I did go out, and my dad's a runner, so I'd go and bike along as he ran and try to like do my little training to be able to hit that standard. And that was kind of what it looked like for me as a kid, I guess.
That's so fun that he is a runner first, and so you sort of got a taste of it through him. Maybe elaborate on that a little bit. What sort of did he just run for fitness, or was he someone who competed and raced and that sort of thing?
He did do races. I think he runs for fitness, for fun, for the mental, just peace that running gives you, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So yeah, he would do like trail races. He loved the trails. He trained for marathons. So just bounce around whatever race was exciting to him. And he's done that like consistently as long as I can remember.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Coming back to you, coming to the presidential fitness test, when you finally got to it, how did the actual test go? And maybe where was the first time that you got a taste that either this was something that you were good at or that this was something you really enjoyed, or both?
Yeah, so, I did make my goal for the presidential fitness test. I think you have to run 1 mile under a 9-minute pace, so
Okay.
I got that. And, from there, the next thing I remember was my family did a 5K. It was like, a city days 5K, and my little brother ran 10 minutes faster than me, 10 whole minutes, and he wasn't cruising either. And I was like, this is unacceptable. So I need to train to be able to compete with my little brother. And that next summer, I would go out and just do loops around our neighborhood. And this makes it sound like I was really serious, but really it was like, I just want to be able to beat my brother. But I did find that I loved running, and it felt like a sport that was more about like the consistency. Like I'm going to go out every day and run my 1 mile, rather than about like the technique or the coordination that I never felt like I really came to me in other sports, even with trying. Um, so that's where I felt like I started to really love running. And as far as um, like a talent for it, I wouldn't say that I to this day, I've had a moment where I feel like I'm talented in running, other than my love for it, I think is maybe my competitive advantage that I wanna get out there and try, and I love that it is a sport where, um, maybe some of the talent can be wanting to get out there and keep going, and the consistency of that was something that I really, like, latched onto, I guess.
I love that, and I love that even at such a young age that, like, that was part of what you loved about it was the consistency of it, creating a routine and a habit for yourself. I think that's maybe unique in childhood or in youth. Maybe elaborate a little bit on when running became more of a formal competitive style of sport for you.
Yeah, so I joined the track team in junior high, and then that advanced into doing cross country and track in high school. And my high school was pretty good. We had like I would say a high standard of excellence. We had a really great coaching team, and we were going for like let's make it to nationals and that sort of thing. And it was an like phenomenal environment for me to be in. Like I absolutely loved it. Um, I so I um sorry, get a little frazzled, but
No, you're fine.
I um yeah, just like the emphasis on this is more fun because it's cool to care. Like it very much had that atmosphere on my team. And that being said, I was not like on the team that went to nationals. I was always like striving for those things, and I felt like I was the person who's like, I'm going to show up every day to practice, and I this is fun because we are all like buying into this. But I also had the experience of, like, not quite reaching that level that I wanted to be at, but being able to run and compete and be really good friends with all these girls who were really out there trying hard. And, like, my favorite week of the summer was cross country camp. We'd go up to the Uinta Mountains here. It's, like, at 10,000 feet and do, like, mile repeats at 10,000 feet, and then we'd also have days where we're just, like, playing line tag in the snow. So we had a good balance of that like really competitive fire on our team, and then also just the fun aspect. It was a pretty big team. Like we had like 100 runners usually at this cross country camp, and just people who are really invested in the sport. And that made it really fun for me. And I was also really blessed to have coaches who made it like so fun, but also like invested in you as a runner, like and tried to get better. So I really was, I guess, that kind of fed the competitive spirit there, I guess.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I was going to ask if, coming from running kind of starting as really your own thing and wanting to compete with your little brother and like really having a joy and a love for it, if that changed at all when it became a competitive and organized sport. And it sounds like really no, that you really were able to maintain that joy and love while still competing and learning and progressing. Maybe talk a little bit about what that time impressed upon you just in terms of like things that you learned about yourself while you are caring deeply and trying very hard and maybe at the same time also finding yourself not quite getting where you wanted to be in terms of getting onto the teams that you wanted to be on.
Yeah, I would say, I guess to your point about still loving it while I was running in high school, even not succeeding. And like, I never, like, my goal was always like, I want to run at state, right? And I make the varsity team, and I never really got to that level. I never ran at state. Um, and I think it taught me that basically like the result is not why I'm running. Like if I had been running for the outcome, like, or because I thought I was good at it, I would have quit years and years ago, because I was never really getting that out of the sport. And I think it taught me that like the process was fun, and the people who I was running with, like, they were so inspiring to me. It was worth, like, not ever being able to, like, maybe I didn't reach that level, but being in the process, like, competing with them was, like, making me not only a better runner, but, like, a better person, and I think that's always been, important to me. Um, and I don't know if that really answered your question, but I guess
It
just taught me to
does.
love the process, I guess.
Yeah, I find that really inspiring at high school age. I think that that's really important. I think that that's a key to success in the sport, but it doesn't necessarily come natural to somebody of that age. I think a lot of high school kids are very results oriented and results focused, and that's not all bad. But like you said, like really learning to love the process and that that's where the value is. I feel like it's a very emotionally mature place to be as a high schooler. Um, Talk a little bit about then where that carried you after high school. How did you continue to implement this love of the process and love of the sport after high school?
Yeah, after high school, I didn't run in college, so I continued to run for fun, but that was pretty much it. So I did run, I did still race here and there, so I tried to qualify for and then ran the Boston Marathon, which was really fun, and I always wanted to be able to, like, you know, just out of the blue, "Hey, let's go on a 2-hour trail run with my roommate." Like, that was what I lived for in college. Like, those are some of my best memories from my college experience, but it was never, like, structured or like, "Oh, I have to do this because I'm training for this event." I mostly ran for fun, which was, a great opportunity to just explore the trails in Logan, where I went to school, and, I had, like, a pretty just fun college experience too that I think I had wanted so bad, like the student athlete experience, which would have been awesome in its own way. But after the fact, I'm really grateful that I did just get to run in a fun way and experience all the other parts of college that are really fun that, if you're training with the team every day, you probably don't get that same experience. So yeah, I did a trail marathon and a few road marathons, but mostly ran for fun during that time period.
So this was one of the other questions I had is when did both distance running and trail running enter the picture for you? So maybe elaborate on that aspect and where you learned that racing on the trails was a thing that you can do and what you enjoyed about that as you were discovering that in college too.
Yeah, I think this is like there's so many different levels to this discovery because we ran on the trails in high school. My coach was really cool and was like, "Okay, Saturday we're gonna all bus to like the Pipeline Trail up Mill Creek Canyon here in Salt Lake," and which is like so beautiful. Like I'm realizing after the fact that we ran mostly the flat trails. Like I didn't realize like how steep you could actually run, but like, I had exposure to that, and my dad has always loved trails. We lived, like, a mile from, the starting line of the Wasatch 100, and so I was familiar with, like, people who did that, like, distantly, and also we'd run the flat portion of that trail, pretty often, my dad and I, and our cross-country team would do that every Monday in the summer. So I always have, like, loved running on trails, and I really got exposure to trail racing first just with local races here that, like, my dad and my uncle would sign up for. So, like, the Buffalo Run out at Antelope Island was like it's a 16 miler that I did. I think I did that in college, but, like, my dad had done it while I was in high school. So, kind of, again, exposure through him, but then I think it took a long time for me to realize, like, "Oh, there's people that do this, like, really competitively." Like, there's this whole other world of, like, really competitive trail racing and also ultras, like, besides just, like, the Wasatch 100, like, there's so much to this that I didn't realize, and that didn't really come until I would say, like, um, honestly, like, a few years ago, like 2023, um, and when I guess I got exposure to that more through, um, like, just watching. I don't even know where it, like, started, but, like, exposure to, like, Instagram or live streams or, like, wow, like, hearing about people who are doing these events, and then I guess joining the clubs here as well. Like, there's a club in Salt Lake called Women of the Wasatch. And so yeah, shout out. They're super awesome. And a lot of the people there are really involved in the trail community. And I'd kind of met more like road runners and knew like the serious side of that, but kind of gained exposure through that as well. That's kind of all over the place, but
No, that's okay. Hey, folks, quick interruption to make sure to say thank you to Open Fuel for supporting the Women of Distance podcast. Open Fuel is responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check them out at openfuel.co. Right now, I'm loving their Ultra Fuel drink mix with 60 grams of carbs and 500 milligrams of sodium all in one serving. Soon, they'll also be adding a gel mix to their product lineup. Again, check them out at openfuel.co and use code WOD to get 20% off your order every time and support the podcast at the same time. Find the link and the code in the show notes. So what maybe this is a two-part question coming from sort of that early exposure to trail racing and that obviously being different than what you'd been doing in cross-country track high school experience, but also different than what you'd been doing in the road marathon scene. Like, what were you learning in the process of first dipping your toe into it, both about like how to do trail running and also what you were learning that you loved about it at the same time?
yeah, that's a good question. I would say something I love about it is um, the well, the training is just really fun to me. I love that more of the training is on trails because when I was doing a road marathon block, it's like, oh, my easy day will be on a trail, and then I'm gonna do everything else. Like my long run day is gonna be on a flat road that's, or maybe it's got a few hills, but it's very different. So I love the training of that, and I love the nature of the races. That there is just so much. Um, there's so many decisions to be made throughout, like, it's such a like, a problem-solving day, and the fact that you can have something go wrong at mile 20 and then feel dramatically different at mile 40 based on the decisions that you make in between, and that can you can dig yourself deep into a hole that is kind of, it can be a bad thing, but also a really fun thing to try to navigate and train for, and I love, like, long days. I think it's training for a marathon, like, hard to justify. People do it. I've never trained for, like, elite level marathoning, but, like, most of my longest days were, like, 2 or 3 hours, and, I'm not, like, super high volume, but I do love, like, the long Saturdays. That's my longest day, I guess, where you're going out for, 3 to 5 hours and, like, bringing all the gear. Like, that part is just really fun for me. Like, it feels like an adventure, but also, like, really good training, and that is race specific when you're training for a long trail race. So I just really like that part, that it's not, oh, this is just too long, you should be doing more fast specificity. It's like, oh, this is actually good training for the event that I'm doing.
Yeah, totally. I love that side of it myself.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had for you was like, who in your life was an example to you of what ultra and trail racing and competition looked like? And it sounds like clearly your dad and your uncle were early examples for you. How were you kind of learning your way through that process of like actually learning how to compete, how to train, how to take care of yourself in longer trail events?
Yeah, and to be honest, like, I'm not I'm not that experienced at this point. I've only done a handful of longer events, so definitely still learning. Um, I would say I do have some examples just from, I'm really grateful for all the people who are willing to, like, share their stories and experiences, whether it's, like, through a podcast like this or even, like, on Strava or on Instagram. I had traditionally been, like, a no Strava, very light Instagram user, and I think there's a lot of benefits to that. I think even people who use it are usually like, "Oh, yeah, that's great if you can use it less." But there's also positives to it, and I think my friends convinced me to get Strava, and which I had never had, like, a few years ago, and it actually kind of opened my mind to, like, how people train. Like, I know not everyone is public with their training, but I love seeing how, the people who are willing to share, like, "Oh, this is like, you can do this kind of training volume, like, these kind of trail workouts that I had just never seen before." So, I'm not the best at conceiving of a new idea that I haven't seen before, but, like, when I see somebody else do it, it's, like, so inspiring to me. So, I guess just listening to podcasts with, like, professionals that I really, like, admire and look up to has been really good, both from, like, the, like, how do you execute standpoint, but also, like, what's even possible? Like, what does that training even look like? And it's been really helpful for me to see. I look up to a lot of like local legends around here in Salt Lake who are just out here like working so hard. I remember this was like before I did the Speed Goat 50K. I went to the Women of the Wasatch and met some ladies there. One of them, Justine, she was like, "Oh, I can show you how to run some technical downhills." Like I had hardly ever done that. I had just finished like one of the Rebel marathon races that's like super downhill. And so I remember just like tailing her and like trying to watch her feet on this downhill. Like, oh, this is how fast you can run downhill. Like I had no idea people moved this quickly if they weren't on a bike, you know? And so being able to like follow, I think following someone is really good downhill training. So I'm really grateful for like when I get to train with someone and kind of tell them on a downhill to improve that skill. Um, and then, yeah, just so many examples of people who are inspiring that I see that on Strava and I think, oh, I'll try that route or I'll try to, I think one day I'd like to achieve that kind of like volume or workout style. It's been really inspiring for me.
You really do have a pretty awesome community there in the Salt Lake area and a ton of great examples for you. Have you really, along this time, been piecing together your own ideas from that community, also from the Strava community and things that you're seeing online, and piecing that together for yourself for your own training? Or is there a point in here that you started working with a coach?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple coaches and um I guess part of my story too is like I think maybe right around 2023 I had some friends invite me to do a race and I think I've been gradually my idea about like what type of training and like taking running seriously is okay has also like evolved over this time period. Like I think coming out of like not running in college, I kind of had this mindset of like and like thinking back it seems ridiculous. Like of course you shouldn't think that, but I kind of thought like, well, if you're going to be like taking running super seriously, like you probably ran in college and I didn't do that. And I can still love running and love the process of it, but like I guess I thought the process could only be so serious because like well, I'm not that good. Like I missed the boat on that. And particularly being like, I mean, this is funny because like I'm only 26. I'm very young, but being like, I didn't run in college. I want to like have a family someday. Like I think probably like my serious running days are like maybe there's not space for that. Like I totally thought that, which is so silly. Like, and that's why I guess I speak to examples on like Instagram and like the Salt Lake community because it was actually mind blowing for me to be like, oh, like these women are out here like this like I listened to like a podcast and I was like, Leah Yingling didn't run in college. Like she didn't run collegiately and she's this good. Like this is crazy. And like Kareth Arnold picked up a sponsor between her first and second child. Like this is crazy. And so I guess that's a little bit of a diversion. But I guess to say that like it's been kind of a process for me to be like, oh, I can like chase these goals that I'm really excited about. And so I guess that started in like 2023. I started working with the coach. Her name's Jackie Hendrickson. She's super awesome. I had just done the Speed Goat 50K and it was a horrible train wreck. And I was like, I need to figure out nutrition. I need to figure out training. Like, we're basically going back to square one because I had felt really prepared for it just with my own like research. And I was like, I need some help. And it was really cool for me to be like, yeah, I can pay for a coach and I can, you know, like pay for gels and the things that I need to be good. And I'm just going to take this like a bit more seriously. And so working with her was super helpful to get um, like just so much more information about like what does good fueling look like. And even if you read about it online, I think it was helpful for me to have someone to be accountable to. Like, okay, how many gels did you actually eat on this run? Even though
Mhm.
maybe I took 3 with me. And if I don't have a coach, it's easy to be like, oh, well, it was good enough. I kind of tried. But I think just that extra level of accountability was good as well as um, just new workouts. Like I was kind of just doing iterations of the workouts that I had learned back in high school. And so just have some variety there was really awesome. So I did start working with her. I guess that was like 2024. Then I started working with Jackie and I worked with her until um, I did Boston spring of last year. And um, yeah, I stopped working with Jackie at that point because I quit my job to travel, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to follow a training plan at this point, and who knows what I'm going to do when I come back. So, but that was like super helpful to get me started with like thinking about taking it more seriously.
Talk a little bit about what kind of impact it had in your life when you started investing in taking yourself more seriously. I had this conversation with someone recently about, whether or not this is a hobby for you or you are seeking to reach an elite or professional level, that the joy that it brings to your life and the way it enhances your life is what matters, right? Like it doesn't really matter what level you're competing at if it's something that enhances your life. So
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about that, about how that changed both the way you were approaching the sport, but also what it was bringing to your life at the same time as you were learning all of this and starting to kind of get a grasp on the sport.
Yeah, I think it and it's hard to say which came first. I know running is also like part of life, but I think in multiple areas of my life I was kind of exploring this same concept like,
Hmm.
it's easy to follow, at least for me. I think I'm very inclined to follow like the most responsible path, at least how I used to view like responsibility, I guess, which is like a staple job. Like one thing leads to the next. Like I finish college, I start this, which I interned at, and just this steady progression of things. Um, and I think at the same time as I was like, okay, I'm going to uh hire a coach and try to, run a PR at this marathon and really care about training and follow whatever, you know, I need to buy or um, time I need to put in to train for this. I think at the same time, I was thinking, what do I want to do? Like career wise, what do I want to do just like in life? I guess there was some like even just like bucket list type things that I kind of started to think through. Like, and I think maybe they kind of just fed each other. Like I think um I wasn't fully bought into like, oh, I'm just going to give running all the energy that I want to give it. I think it took me a while to get to that. Um but that type of idea led me to think about, okay, what if I quit my job and I explore things that I'm passionate about for a while, and I ended up doing that. And then I think that experience, you know, it's easy to think, "Oh, yeah, I believe that somebody should do that." Like, I think that's a great thing to do. I support people who do that. To me, I think I needed the action of actually doing it. Like, I'm actually going to quit something that seems responsible to know that, like, it's actually okay. Like, it's okay if I, don't make an income for a few months and I explore things that I'm really excited about. And I think running fed into that, but then that also helped me be able to dream even bigger when it comes to running. And yeah, not really like outcome focused, but like I'm just going to try like as hard as I want. And that's okay. Even though like I don't get paid to do this, but I want to do this. So it's okay.
I love that. It sounds like this is really sort of a message from your early running days and that high school process that you went through, kind of being echoed now in your adult life, and running sort of being, I always say running like mirrors life, right? Like running is the sport, but you translate so many of those skills and so much of that confidence to your real life and what is going on outside of the sport. And I think that sounds like a perfect example of just that. Um, Talk a little bit about, maybe you said you took some time off and you explored the world and explored yourself and where you wanted to be in it. I don't want to skip ahead too much, but you had a pretty significant 2025 in the sport of running. When did you come back and sort of start to reinvest yourself in the running side of your life? And also, did you start working with a coach again around that time or at that point?
Yeah. Um, I guess timeline wise, I I quit my job at early 2025 and we went to Europe for the summer. And the idea wasn't, it's funny because after like looking back on it now, it kind of looks timeline like, oh, looks like she quit her job to pursue running. But I really quit my job more because like it was a fantastic job, but I just felt like I needed to change and I wanted to make sure like what I was working towards at that job was like actually like the industry and what I wanted to be doing long term. So it was really more of like a personal thing, and I thought I would continue running as I had been doing it, but not in the sense to like pursue that. I did do my longest race to date during that trip while we were out in Europe. So I got to do a fun race out in Switzerland, and um, it was a 110-kilometer race, and I had basically like I hadn't considered like looking at the start line, the start list before. Like I just showed up and like worked my way to however I felt like I was running, and I kind of like pretty early in the race, like there was like a camera following me, and I was like, wow, this is really cool that they have like coverage of the top 10. Like this is awesome. And then come to find out I was like battling for a podium position, and um it was a cool opportunity because I hadn't even conceived of with that race that I could even like be competitive. I was like, let's see if I can, finish and see how I can do. And I always have this hope, like it's not to like completely sandbag. Like, I think I can be fast, but I didn't think of it in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna try to podium this event. And so that kind of like started the wheels turning of like, what if I like pursue this a little bit more? Like what if I did work with the coach? And so I'd signed up for a couple races based on that experience. I signed up for Black Canyon 2026 because I was like, races sell out so fast. I gotta like get a few on the calendar in advance. And then I signed up on the wait list for the White Pine 50, which was going to be in August when we would come home from our trip. So um, we came, and I was like, I'm on the wait list. I'm not sure if I'll get in or not, but we'll just throw this on there. And it's cool that it's a entry to the Bear 100 if like that somehow happened, you know? And so then we got home from our travels in August of 2025. And then a few weeks, I guess it was end of July. And then a few weeks later was the White Pine 50 up in Logan. So I got to run, some of those trails I was loving in college, and ended up winning that and getting entry to the Bear 100. So it was a sort of a whirlwind of like, okay, let's try this 50 miler. This is like my second 50 plus mile event. And now, hurrah, you get an entry to 100 mile. But I was really excited. And like, I kind of like following the excitement of races. I wish you could sign up for a race like ultras more like short
Mhm.
notice like this. Like I'm pretty lucky to have had now several experiences where I do get to sign up for 100 like pretty short notice. But I was just excited. Like at this point, we'll see what I can do. A lot of the training's already done, but I have 6 weeks till my first 100 miler, so we'll see how it goes. And I did just train for that one on my own, just because that's what I had been doing. I wasn't sure like long term what it would look like after, if I wanted to start with a new coach or just keep doing things on my own. And then it was after the Bear 100 that I reached out to Jimmy Elam, and we had a chat, see if he would be open to coaching me. And so I'm now working with him as my coach, which has been super awesome since October of 2025.
Okay, come back to this story about the bear because I think this is like a very similar situation to the spot you find yourself right now. Of
Yeah.
you won and performed well in this 50, and your prize is congratulations, you get to run twice as far now. What did that process look like of those 6 weeks that you had in between to prepare for this first 100 miler? And then how did that race go? And what kind of things did you experience in that race and that distance?
Yeah, I actually loved the training block going into the Bear because there was basically no room for like long-term stress, because I was like, we're 6 weeks out, so we're kind of like in sort of the shape we're going to be in. We have some like tuning up we could do and some long days, but I did go do another long day out on the course, just trying to like get some good quad damage in before this 100 miles. And I did. I was on a schedule of doing like some type of speed workout or hard workout on like once a week, and then some longer trail days. Pretty. Um, I don't know what's actually standard or per se, but from what heard from like podcasts or different training plans you can find. So yeah, just kind of put together the best plan I could. I think I was using a lot of the same like fueling and like hydration things that I had done when I had work with my previous coach, and so I just kind of took those things. That's what I had done for my race for the white pine, and then also the European one in the summer. So I just kind of, spreadsheeted that out for in the same way I had done that, and I I planned for like a huge range of outcomes. I was like, this, I'm bringing my um, if I'm going to go the full to the cutoff time and be hiking for the last 12 hours, like I really wanted to finish, like, regardless of how the day went. So I was like, we're going to bring so many extra things and like, sorry, crew, but I'm going to give you like a 5 hour window because I do not know what it's going to feel like at mile 75. Um, and then I think that was a good mindset going in because I was just very like open to the experience of the day. Like, we're gonna enjoy this. Like, this is so cool that I get to do this. Um, and I was really lucky. Like, last minute, I had my husband Dan who was willing to pace, and then I didn't have anyone else last minute. One of my um, good friends, like my dad's friend, our neighbor growing up, he just like literally the day before was like, "You don't have a pacer? Like, I'll come pace." And so he jumped in for like 30 miles of pacing,
Wow.
20, I don't remember the exact distance, but so long. And it was just, prime fall leaves in Logan Canyon. And there were, I don't need to recount the whole day. Those who have done hundreds are familiar with, like, you could tell stories from like the entire ups and downs of the day. But overall, it was really hard, really challenging. And, but I was able to finish and in like a time I was really happy with, especially for my first 100, just getting like, some experience under my belt, and just so grateful for, yeah, the day that I had out there. Is just so fun. So I was hooked.
Do you come out of that race already thinking you wanted to do this again? Or did it take you some time to come around to that desire to do that distance again?
Yeah, I think I would say I came out with the desire to do it again. I guess
Okay.
that's maybe the bias of having like a good day, like winning a race is fun. And like, it was just so beautiful. Like, I feel like the support that I had was amazing. So you kind of just like, you forget like the really low moments. But yeah, I did think like I want to do this again. I didn't think like, oh, every race I'm gonna do is 100. I think like I was like 100 in a year is like a lot. Like, that was really long. But I would like to try again.
Okay, so coming around to 2026, you had already registered for Black Canyon. You are
Mhm.
really starting to, it sounds like, build and gain some real confidence in your ability in trail and ultra. And as those distances are increasing, when you began training for Black Canyon this year, did you have a golden ticket and the competition in mind, or were you sort of just what were your goals and visions for that race specifically?
Yeah, my vision for Black Canyon was like get experience racing in a competitive field. Like, I love the accountability of like, if you like, and it's funny because this is what I ended up doing at Black Canyon. But if you slog out and walk the last 10 miles, like, you're going to get passed by lots of fast women who are ready to pass you. And I just love, yeah, how competitive it is. Like, it's one of the biggest 100Ks I think out there, or at least in the US. And but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go get a golden ticket. It was definitely, I want exposure on this type of like level of racing. And I think the course seemed really fun to me, but mostly the competition.
I think that I want to take a moment to thank SOAR Running for their support. SOAR Running design and produce running apparel that does justice to the commitment and passion of runners globally. Encompassing textile innovation, pioneering design technology, sports science, and the real world experiences of runners. Their collections are designed specifically for running, for high performance racing, and also for off road adventure and endurance. And that's what I'm most excited about. Their trail line is specifically designed to be technical and durable for long adventures. It is high performance trail gear, blending innovative fabrics and detailing for off road resilience, function, and endurance. SOAR's innovation and ground up approach to product development results in a new way of thinking about trail running apparel. Check them out at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com. It's neat that you can go into it with that kind of just curiosity, like how do I do this? Where do I land? How do I approach it? Maybe elaborate a little bit on that day and how it actually went for you, what you learned being in that competitive race, competitive field. I actually got to see you out there. I didn't realize this really until
Oh.
just now we were talking, but you were definitely in the top 10 at Deep Canyon Ranch. Maybe like 7 or 8. Does that sound right? Coming through 50K?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what place I was in. That sounds about right. I think I was within the top 10. I had a really good race up to Deep Canyon Ranch, which is not the race.
That's not the whole story. Okay. So I
um,
definitely saw you out there. And I know there were a lot of people out there saying your name and repeating your name. And so I had looked you up at that time because I wasn't familiar with your name until then. But
yeah.
became acquainted from that point on. So talk a little bit about that race, what you learned and how it went for you.
Yeah, I learned tons from that race. I'm really glad that I did it now that it's been a few months. But yeah, I felt like, I mean, my plan was to go out and be calm. The race is long and, I want to be able to race in the second half. And I felt like I was doing that. Like in my mind, I was like, I'm so ready for the race in the second half. Like I'm going to move my way up. I'm like mentally, I felt like I was calm and poised waiting for the race to start. And then um about Black Canyon City Aid, I've never dealt with this before ever. But I started throwing up and I initially was like still in my positive mindset and I like there was like a photographer right there and I was like puke and rally and I was like excited and it just been the out and back so you kind of get to see the whole women's field. I didn't think I wasn't quite fast enough to see the whole women's field, but you see a few people in front of you and you're like motivated to be like, okay, like this is where the race kind of begins. Like we still have a lot of race left. Um, but then just that climb and I think initially I was really positive and then I think like panic start to set in a little bit where I was like, I'm probably dehydrated. Like I've never had this happen before. Also, like it felt better for a second and now I just feel sick again. and and after that, like it's like sort of the blurry, like not blurry because I wasn't mentally like I was fine. I was totally fine, but like I just did not make good decisions after that. Like I didn't do the things that you should do to like try to rehydrate, like try different types of fueling, like try something. Like I pretty much just didn't do anything except like walk run for 23 more miles. And so I was like coming out of that, I there was like nutrition things to figure out. And I wanted to, like, okay, why am I throwing up? Like, what can I troubleshoot here to like really dial that in a little bit better? But at the same time, like, I know that that can be a part of races for a lot of people. Like, I've watched, races like Western states, like you see Marianne Hogan coming in throwing up and she keeps on running, like I would love to be like that. And I was just disappointed that I my decision making at that point was so poor. Like I didn't try anything. I didn't do anything. I did finish and I was proud that I finished. But yeah, I was really motivated to like, let's not do this again. I really want to get better at those two components, like the mental and then also the fueling and nutrition side of it.
Do you feel like that mental side of it came from like a sort of pressure because of the competition and the level of competition that was around you? Or do you feel like it was just sort of a panic because it was new and you weren't sure what to do? Like, where do you think that came from?
Yeah, I think it's um mostly I would say the second that you said that it was mostly I had never dealt with this before. I think I didn't feel a lot of pressure going into the race as far as externally. Like I if I was able to have a good result there, great, but like nobody expects me to, like there's so many like competitive women in this field. Like I kind of just have space to just like run my day and hope it's
Mhm.
as good as it can be. I think and like talking with my coach after like and if I was talking to someone else as well, I'd say like your physical state does impact your decision making. So I think like dehydration like probably does make that like it's easier to be weak when you are dehydrated and just lost like all of the nutrients that you tried to take in for the beginning part of the race. And so that was probably a factor. And then I think just not having like visualized really like bad scenarios. Like going into it, maybe there's pressure
Mm.
from myself that I was like, I feel really good. Like my training feels really good. Like I'm ready to have a great day. I'm ready to be super positive. And I think like in contrast to how I felt going into the bear, where I was like, if this bad thing happens, I am prepared with this. Like I have this extra thing if I'm feeling horrible or you're gonna try this. Like I think I probably visualized too much like my perfect day. And then when it
Uh-huh.
wasn't that, I like didn't know how to adapt, especially with my like dehydrated or whatever it was brain. It was like, we're just gonna keep moving at this really slow pace. And that's just kind of what I kept doing.
That's really insightful in just the way that you processed it in advance before the race. And I think also good insight there too that your brain does not work as well when it's not properly fueled. We're not just fueling our bodies, we're fueling our minds out there
Yeah.
too. I sort of loved you made just a very casual Instagram post after this race that was just like a get them next time kind of post. I am curious about that next time now. When did you decide to line up for Canyon's 100K?
I did sign up for Canyons like probably a week and a half after Black Canyon. I have this habit that my husband always laughs at where it's like whether the race is good or the race is bad, it just makes me want to race more.
Yeah.
So I was like pretty down about Black Canyon, like pretty disappointed. Like I just feel like I wanna try again. Like, I need another shot at 100K where I actually stay in the race till the end. And Canyons is a nice one where you could just go in and sign up, and it wasn't full. So, yeah, I texted Jimmy, like, "Can we be ready by Canyons, do you think, for another 100K?" And he's like, "I think we can do it." So, I signed up for it, after Black Canyon.
Similar to signing up for Black Canyon, did you have the golden ticket opportunity in mind, or were you mostly eyeing the competitive field?
Yeah, just the competitive field again. I mean, I had like golden ticket is like a dream of mine. Like I was like, it's awesome to get experience at these golden ticket races because you get experience on the course and like maybe someday I'd be like going specifically for that ticket. And I do I've been lucky to have enough races that are better than I expected to try to be like open minded about it. Like if I'm in that position, like I want to not be like shocked or like, "Oh, this is scary. I can't be in this position." Like I want to be open to that idea, but it wasn't like ticket or bust. This is why I'm going um because, I'm quite new to the sport. There's lots of opportunities to chase a ticket and I also think I race better when I have more of a like a goal that I can execute, right? Like you can get um huge variety in the fields that are out there. And if I had a really fantastic day and I end up, um, seventh and there's no roll down, it's like that. I'm super happy with that. I mostly wanted to have like a good day for me that felt like I fought till the end. I was more steady than Black Canyon and like I gave it my all out there.
I love that being open to the opportunity, not afraid of the opportunity. I really like that
Yeah.
outlook and mindset. Um, in the time between Black Canyon and Canyons, is there anything that you did significant or drastic to change your training or your preparation building up? Or did you sort of just keep on keeping on and take the lessons that you had learned from Black Canyon and apply to the next race?
Yeah, this is sort of I get in a way a lesson from Black Canyon, but I did try to dial in my nutrition a bit better for Canyon. So I did get like Precision offers a sweat test that
Mhm.
looks at the concentration of sodium. And so I got that. And then I also did my own like sweat rate testing at home, the kind of thing where you like go for a run and then see how much weight you lost, like just to see like how much I'm actually sweating. And that was really helpful to have some data just to say, okay, I think I probably didn't hydrate enough. And I met with another dietitian connected to that sweat test, just saying like, okay, what could we try differently? Because I felt like I had been pretty dialed at Black Canyon. And the main change from that was just more hydration, also more sodium than I expected. Like my number was higher than I had thought. So that was a change that I made, like planning wise. But as far as training, like we did more canyon specificity, and just because it's a little bit more hilly than Black Canyon. So like a bit more vert, but the same kind of structure of workouts and long runs that I had been doing previously.
Okay, I'm really eager to hear about the race itself and the day and how it played out. I was really bummed they didn't have a live stream for this race because I would have been glued to it. So tell us a little bit just about the day, maybe starting from the start line, lining up at the beginning of the race. Who are you taking off with in the beginning, and what were sort of thoughts and feelings at the start line in those first few early miles?
Yeah, the start was pretty fun. I've never been in a race like this where they had a separate men and women start group, which was pretty cool. It made it like not too stressful because I think most of my races I've been like passing lots of people at the front because I just don't go to the front at the beginning. But they were, I mean, credit to UTMB. They were like, we want more women up here. Like, fill this start group. Like, like they weren't doesn't care. Like, they don't care what your UTMB score is or anything. Like, if you wanted to be
Hmm.
in that group, you could be in that start group. And so I got to, see some of the elite women there and some people I recognized, some I didn't, and like chat a little bit. People are, kind of in the zone, but that was pretty fun. And then the race set off, and from my perspective, this might be different if you're like someone who has a different pace threshold, but I felt like the race went out really hot. And you're kind of on this like dirt road, so you can see pretty far and it's pretty wide. And like the lead group went out, which I was expecting, and my plan was not like go out with Riley Brady, but like run my own pace. But I was surprised at how many people like did go with them. Like there was a big group with the lead pack, and at some point I was like, oh, maybe I should like keep track of where I'm at, and I kind of did like a rough count, and I was like, I'm not going to count. Like I think that's like 30 women. Like I feel like I'm really
Wow.
far back here, and I don't know how many it actually was. It was maybe fewer than that, but I was with a group that was a bit behind that, not like too far. And I think Sarah Alvin, who ended up getting third, was also in that group. And a few other people who ended up in the top 10, which was like a fun group there. Um, so we ran like I wasn't necessarily running with that group consistently throughout the whole time, but you end up running with some woman for a little bit, and then like I'll just run my pace for a certain section and end up somewhere else. There is a fun out and back that's like in the first 20 miles somewhere. And so that was pretty cool to be able to see like where things had kind of shaken out. And because I got to see the whole women's field coming backwards, like everyone who was in front of me, which was pretty nice. Um, and I think at that point I was still in like maybe 15th or something, but very like comfortable with my placement. Like I'm just trying to run as conservatively as I can because it's easy to get excited at the start of races.
Hmm.
And like Jimmy had said going in, if you ask yourself, is this too conservative? The answer is probably no. And so I was kind of going through my mind, like my goal is to like run steady all day and be able to race at the end. And if I end up going too easy at the beginning, like I would honestly, at this point, like I want to have a race like that instead of like blowing up because I'm just so inclined to like go too fast at the beginning because there's just so much excitement, I guess. Um, and the race is just long; it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
um, so that was kind of the first bit, just feeling like be calm, be conservative. I was trying to like run all the hills, so like your heart rate does go up a little bit more if you're trying to run some of those. And I feel like they're doable. Like all the most of the lead women were running up those hills. And then um, yeah, just feeling like pretty calm all day. It was kind of interesting. I don't know exactly what happened like ahead of me in the race, but I feel like I people would tell me like my placement and it would be like a little bit like higher than I expected. Like, oh, I feel like I didn't pass people, but I don't know if a few people had dropped, I think, or maybe I just passed them in A8 and didn't realize or something like that. So that kind of took me to halfway feeling like very calm, like having seen I think there's like a few cruise stations in the middle, so you get like a little bit of an update there, but I never know like how much to trust like what people tell you. Um And yeah, I was just feeling very calm. That was mainly what I was trying to do at the beginning of the race. And then, um, sorry,
I
did you
was
say
just going
something?
to say it's really interesting to hear the way that you approached this. Like it really sounds like you brought in all of that experience that you had had last year, that you had had at Black Canyon, and really approached this in a very experienced way, and taking those lessons from your coach as well, and really absorbing and trusting that you wanted to have a particular experience, that you would rather start conservative and run strong and feel good as opposed to having the blow up and doing it the other way. And just trusting in that and having the confidence to run your own race in that way, especially when such a large group of women is taking off, and it would be so easy and tempting to go with that. Um, Anyway, coming back to your telling of the story, and
Yeah.
where maybe like where things started to shift, where you started to realize that you were really those numbers kept getting smaller as you were
Yeah.
getting beta.
Yeah, so then, um, there is there's, like, some pretty long downhills, from, like, I don't know, around, like, mile 40 or something, like, you have a pretty long stretch with no significant climbs, I would say, and then, at that point, I wasn't quite sure what place I was in, I thought, like, 5th or something, and, Eleni, like, flew by me, like, the kind of pass where you're like, she's, like, showing me that she's very strong, like, she's feeling good, and she's trying to make this past final, which, like, was so awesome, and then it was like, okay, if she has, like, that kind of strength for the long haul, like, she's gonna take it, like, she'll take the golden ticket, and she's gonna pass, like, 10 more people, but I was, and it would be I talked to her a little bit afterwards, but we didn't, you know, do the full race breakdown. I'd love to hear what was going through her mind because maybe I don't seem as competitive, but, like, I think in my mind in races, I am pretty competitive. It just kinda, like, feeds me a little bit, so in my mind, I was like, "I think she's kind of bluffing." Like, I don't think she can be as strong as that pass was. So I was like, "I'm just gonna try to, like, hang with her as long as possible." But she did run that downhill, like, super strong, so there was some distance between us, but then we came up on this pretty big climb, and my, like, goal of the day, not because it's necessarily the smartest, I don't know, like, strategy-wise, but for me mentally, it's helpful to just, like, I'm gonna run the whole thing. And so, like, my shuffle run was, like, not fast, but she was doing more of, like, a run, hike, and, like, looking backwards occasionally, and so I was like, "Every time she looks back, I'm just gonna be here, like, running." And so, we kind of had a fun, like, up the hill, like, we were probably, like, 100 meters apart, but she could, like, see me. It was like a road hill, and so then we ran, like, kind of that awkward, like, distance apart for, like, a long time. Like, it wasn't close enough that we could, like, talk, so that's why it'd be fun to hear, like, what was going through her mind, but, um and I was like, I'm just gonna try to, like, keep her in my sight, but more than that, I'm just like, I'm trying to run consistently my pace, and I wasn't so, like I wasn't feeling good enough to be like, "Oh, I'm going to pass her, I'm going to get this golden ticket." It was more like, I'm gonna hang on to this pace, and maybe it'll be good enough. We'll see. And so we did that, like, fun exchange for a little bit, and then there were some downhills too where we would kind of, like, yo-yo a little bit, but anytime I'd get close to her, like, she would speed up or and maybe she wasn't speeding up, like, I don't know which one of us was actually steady, but we had this, like, fun, racing dynamic, which I haven't really had, a lot in these ultras, so that was super fun, and, like, we came through the second to last aid, um, and, like, she just, like, blew through. Maybe she filled up her bottle really quick, but I can, like, see her this whole time, and I think this is I don't remember what mile this is, but like 54 or something like that. And there's a pretty steep climb after that, and to the point where, like, probably people are hiking it more efficiently than I'm running it, but it just helped me be steady to like shuffle run the whole thing. And so I did pass her on that climb, and it wasn't a pass like it was not a very strong pass, but I was like, I'm just keeping going with my shuffle run, and I'm not looking back. Like, I'm just trying to look forward. And at that point, like, I like to try to think about the next person. So I was like, I'm not going to look back. I am scared of her coming back, but I'm going to try to focus on, like, just run my pace and run forward. So, I like ran into her crew at the top of that hill. And I think they were kind of expecting her, and then it was me, and they were super nice. They're like, "Good job! Like you have some downhill up here." And so I didn't see her after that point. But then I came through the last aid station, which has like 4 miles to go or something, and they were like, "She's just up there. She's just up there." And I was like who? Like I had no idea how close I was to third place. I hadn't even like considered that. And then I did at some point, like I caught up to Sarah Alabin, but I think she had was kind of like paused. Like it seems like she had almost gone the wrong way and was like correcting to the course. So like I didn't caught her because I was necessarily going faster. And then she like saw me and then was like moving so strong. And I was like, I'm going to try to hang with her. But she looked like very strong at the end and put in some very, very good last miles that I couldn't match. But it was really cool to have like, then I had Sarah as kind of like my target as we were weaving through these last bit of trail. I couldn't see her the whole time. She put in some good distance, but like here and there, I'd get like, you know, like someone to kind of like follow and be like, I'm trying to chase her down, even if I'm not making much progress, but that's my goal here. And that was a fun change to be like trying to stay in the race at the end, that I was happy to be in that situation. And then you come up on this very last hill on the road. So you're like in the neighborhoods now in Auburn, very close to the finish. And um, I like it's so well marked. I don't know how I did it, but I like made this random turn into this random street. And like there was somebody who I think was spectating who had ran that way, but they weren't like actually in the race. And so I had just like followed them. And it was probably only like 1 minute, but I was suddenly like, I don't know how close Eleni is behind me. Like maybe she's right there and she just passed me while I was off course for like 1 minute. And so I like, backtracked. And then I think I was like, I really am just going to like try to leave everything out here. Just, I don't know what place. I had figured she probably hadn't passed me because I would have seen her. Like it was a very small like deviation from the course, but I was still like enough panic to be like, now I'm scared of her behind me. And I don't want that to be the reason why I don't get a golden ticket. Cause I did know at that point, like I was in golden ticket position. I mean, it wasn't like certain per se, but I figured that Kareth would be focusing on hard rock, so that she probably wouldn't want to do Western as well. And then Dan was cheering close to the finish line, and he was like, yeah, he hadn't told me that I got past, so I assumed that I was still in fourth place. And then just like the finishing, I think up until the very end, I wasn't like I guess the whole race up to the end, it was still that like it's not over till it's over. Like I felt so good at Black Canyon until I didn't, and you never know like what's going to happen. So it was like I wasn't I was just like, you got to just keep going and keep going. And then that celebration, just like, I was just so happy at the finish line. Like, I actually finished, like, we actually did it. And I felt like I raced to the end, like, better than I have before. Like, there's still, I think there's always things I can nitpick, and that's good, right? Because I don't want that to be my best race ever. Like, and
Right.
there's huge room for improvement, but it's like, it's also a big step forward from the previous races that I've had in how I felt like I was able to stay in it. And then like what a crazy day that ended up being a golden ticket, which was so exciting, like dream come true, like way before I had even thought to try, because it's such a far out there dream, but super excited about that.
Yeah, I love those are the kind of the two questions that I had was about your race first and just really being able to race all the way to the finish line and being able to execute. You started that day wanting to be able to build into it and to finish strong and feel good. And you did that. And both at the finish line, but also maybe in the days to follow, like what were sort of the feelings that came along with that, executing the race in the way that you wanted to and the way that you thought you were capable of.
I was just I think it's worth it just to take time to like celebrate and enjoy like the fun moments. So I think I was just like on a high a little bit from that, just like smiling, and like people have been so supportive and encouraging and like just hype after the fact, like, and so just talking to people and like talking to my parents and friends who were just like so excited for me, and just feeding off that energy. And like, I have plenty of my own excitement, even independently, but that has just made it really fun in the days post race. And um, yeah, I think I think I just felt really, really grateful. I still do. Like, I feel really grateful that the day ended up as it did, and just enjoy um, the fact that I'm proud of how I raced, and it was an improvement from you know I improved some of the things that I wanted to improve.
I imagine that internal validation is really the key and the most important thing. But I am also curious. You earned a golden ticket and fourth place in a very competitive field. What did that sort of external validation feel like for you? Was that any sort of, did it have any sort of impact, or what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I would say I do think external validation makes an impact, I guess, on how I feel. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not, like, indifferent to it, and, it does make me, I guess, dream more about, like, what could be possible. Like, I have friends who have always been, like, really supportive, but they're like, "Are you talking to brands? Like, are you doing this?" And I'm like, "I don't know, like, I haven't really thought through this, like, in a serious way," but I think um, it's helpful, and it, like, pushes me to dream bigger, I guess, and think about what could be, and, um, so that I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
it is nice. Mhm.
Right. Okay, so I thought this was funny. At the finish line of Black Canyon, Molly Seidel's partner was saying, congratulating her that the reward for running good is more running. So this is what you earned. You earned your golden ticket. You did good in this thing. It gets you to the next thing. Maybe talk a little bit about Western states and how you are prepared, or how you imagine you'll be preparing for the race over the next. Would we have about a little more than 8 weeks at this point? And also how you feel like that race both suits your strengths and how you expect it to challenge you.
Yeah. I
That
think
was a
the
lot of questions.
training
Sorry.
Oh, all good. I think the training, will probably look not dramatically different than what it looked like going into canyons, probably maybe a few longer days, and, I guess we'll see. I think the benefit of I do you always have to give feedback to your coach, but also the benefit of having a coach is you can kind of trust that, like, um, they can have, I guess, a bigger perspective on that, and, I would be maybe inclined to be like, "I'm in Western states, I'm gonna go out and run these massive weeks," but I haven't been doing that. I've been building my volume, but, um, I don't wanna do anything that's dramatically I'm just working my way towards those that type of training that is, like, optimal for these types of events. So I think it'll look pretty similar. I will need to find a way to do a more heat training. I haven't done that a lot for canyons. I did quite a bit for Black Canyon. Um, so maybe implementing some of that again, because Western is hot. But I think the course I guess we'll see how it suits my strengths or not, but the things that excite me about it are, I got to see a little bit of it with canyons, and I think it's beautiful. I like those kind of climbs that are, I guess, on the line between runnable or not, but um, it's, uh, I would say it's a fairly runnable course, and I I like that it's net downhill. I do like downhill, and I would say just the excitement of it. I think I really value experiences. Like, I'm really grateful and happy and just thrilled to have the chance to be there. And so I feel like going into a race, that's usually the mindset that is the most helpful for me. Like, I'm going to, you know, prepare for lots of different types of experiences, but I'm excited for whatever this is. And so just the fact that it is such a, historic and competitive and, like, really unexpected race for me to be in this year, I think actually suits my strengths. Like, I usually like races like that. And the challenging parts, I think, are, it's 100 miles. It's always challenging. There's always going to be things where you don't expect, and so just preparing to, I make those good decisions when things go sideways. Um, and I think the heat is challenging. It's hard to hydrate enough to keep your stomach happy. So trying to plan and train for that will be important, I think. But yeah, I don't know if that was all your questions.
I know I threw a lot at you all at once. So, between now and Western States, what do your plans look like? Are you going to go to the Western States training camp? Do you have any other races on your calendar between now and then?
So a lot of this is still to be determined, and I'm gonna chat with my coach later tonight, and we'll probably nail down some of these things. But my part of me really wants to go to the Western States training camp just because it's so fun, and I'm like, if I'm in Western, I want the full experience. But I also think from a training perspective, I might be better off sticking around here where I have seen pieces of the course. I'm also okay having not seen some of it, and like I have enough poison oak from canyons. It's not bad, but it's like, I don't know if I wanna restart the cycle before Western States. Um, so just, like, balancing those 2 things of, like, one would be really fun, and it would be really good training too. Like, it's not just fun, like, you go out and see the course and run some good days, and there's lots of really awesome women to run with out there. But I think I might stick around, Salt Lake just because we've just had a trip out there. And as far as racing goes, I am currently signed up for the Twisted Fork 68K. I'm not sure if how that fits into the training schedule, so we'll see, I guess, to be determined if I do that or not. If I don't do it, I'd love to be out there supporting. I think it's a great event that I was really excited about, but we'll just see how that fits in.
Awesome. I'm really excited to see how these next couple months go for you and excited to cheer you on in Western States itself as well. I don't want to go too far beyond that into anything else that might be on your calendar for the year. We'll start with Western, but to bring us to a close, a question I ask of everyone who comes on the podcast is: if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be? Or maybe let's go back a little further. Maybe your high school self.
Yeah, since I'm still in my 20s, I probably am in the taking advice, please send advice phase of life. But yeah, I guess if I had to say anything, it's probably just, what I've learned over the past few years, which is, I would say to let go of perfection and preconceived expectations, which we've kind of been talking about through this whole conversation. But I think I very much had an idea of like, this is what this path looks like, and you can only get to this place through this path. And it's like, that's so not how the world works. Like it's so much more creative, and there's so much more opportunity if you allow yourself to follow it. And I am extremely lucky for the opportunities that I have. Maybe you know, that's also a huge, huge blessing. But I think letting go of that, it has to be this perfect day and embracing whatever it is. And maybe that's even better than you had dreamed up. And so just being more flexible with how I view the future, I guess.
I love that. I really love that. And I really see you applying that lesson over, just sort of the history we talked through from high school to today, seeing you applying that to yourself and in your own life is a neat reflection. Sarah, I
Yes.
have really enjoyed getting to know you just a little bit, and I'm really excited to follow where you go from here and what is available to you as you keep your options open and stay flexible. And really appreciate your time and just sharing a little bit of your story. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren, for having me on. I appreciate all you do to bring the stories out because it's inspiring for people like me to be able to listen and feed off of the ideas. So thank you.
I love hearing that. Thank you.